maximizing technology sector opportunities post-COVID. So I wear, as I mentioned, I wear 3 different hats. You could say I'm jack of all trades, master of none. So maybe many of you know me as the chairman of AT Capital, or the founder of AT Capital in Bangladesh. I'm the co-founder of a technology company in the UK called Infinity Technology. I founded with another expat Bangladeshi, Irfan Kandakar. So we're doing a number of projects in the UK. So I'm not just you could say an economist or a consultant or a researcher. We're actually implementing projects ourselves. And thirdly, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pathfinder, which I mentioned before is this digital entrepreneurship platform. So as I mentioned, these are some of the themes we'll talk about today. Digital economy. We're a bit bored of talking about the fourth industrial revolution, but we can talk about it in a more focused and let's say practical, commercial perspective. Pathfinder, I think UK tech collaboration opportunity case studies. So I've mentioned 5: digital health, fintech, digital banking, restaurant tech, food delivery, digital marketing, and cybersecurity. These are all actually projects which are either live at the moment in the UK or areas I think that Bangladeshi tech companies can participate and can find new opportunities in the UK market. So starting off with the digital economy in the fourth industrial revolution. So we know that everything is becoming more and more digitized. The digital economy, even before COVID, was becoming all pervasive, but you can see how the COVID crisis has accelerated everything, whether it's consumption of Netflix, whether it's how we, I think in health, in many other areas, how we shop. So digital health or e-commerce have all been accelerated, particularly digital health. I'll come back to that, but I was speaking to some NHS doctors, a consultant in the NHS last night, and she was saying in the National Health Service, I mean, what would have taken 5 to 10 years, COVID has kind of accelerated that engagement in digital health just to, almost overnight, what doctors and patients are comfortable doing in terms of health provision and health consumption. I think, again, even before COVID, I always find this an interesting chart which shows the speed at which technology spread. And I think the world is much more globally connected, globally integrated. The sort of Facebook generation adopts technology very fast. So we went from radio 38 years, TV 13 years, iPod 4 years, Facebook 1 year, and Pokemon Go 19 days to reach the first 50 million users. And I would believe this analysis was done before COVID. And I think digital integration and digital, yes, I'd say the integration of the digital economy is even deeper after COVID. So many of you are familiar with some of these general technologies in the fourth industrial revolution type stuff. So I'll flick through it. I think what we really want to think about is how to take disruptive technologies. Some people call it fourth industrial revolution, 4IR technologies. How do you convert that into commercial opportunities? So we take technologies, then we focus on particular sectors. Then we take particular sector focus, and then we move into specific project or business opportunities. Again, these are some range of the different technologies. This was an interesting slide from UNCTAD. So it was published actually. If you haven't seen it, there's a very interesting UNCTAD. It's like 140 pages, but an UNCTAD report that was released at the beginning of this year on the opportunities in global e-commerce post-COVID. But this chart I thought that was very interesting. It shows how UNCTAD has estimated the global market for frontier technologies will increase. So they're estimating in 2018 the global economy for frontier technologies. I mean, here we've got AI, IoT, drones, solar, big data, robotics, and so on, 3D printing, blockchain. It's going to increase by tenfold from 2018 to 2025, from $350 billion to $3.2 trillion. So I think that's not surprising for many of you in the audience, but the opportunity in frontier in the growth in the market for technologies is massive. The question is, how do you in Bangladesh take advantage of it? So just a little bit of a digression on AI. I think that in terms of why AI and let's say frontier technologies or 4 AI technologies are accelerating so much, I think there are really four main factors. One is the exponential growth in computing power. The second is the large data sets that are available. So there's massive data. So big data continues to grow exponentially. Thirdly, machine learning techniques are much more efficient. And fourthly is actually the volume of investment in the amount of commercial investment into AI. I might actually add a fifth one. I just realized that I didn't include that. But a fifth one will be the growth in cloud computing. So the scale and ease and pervasiveness, ubiquity of cloud computing is something else which has been a game changer in terms of AI. We're actually implementing some AI in some of our projects. This is Infinity Technology, and I was involved for 3 years as the co-founder of an AI health startup. So I'm quite engaged in trying to understand and thinking about AI. I mean, this is a summary of different types of AI, whether it's machine learning, natural language processing, another big area, deep learning and neural networks is another important, let's say, area in AI. But I think the main thing I wanted to get across, and many of you are already in the technology sector, it's actually not about the AI. The most important thing is the data. If you speak to AI scientists or you speak to people at Google or Microsoft, they'll tell you, actually, AI algorithms you can get free on Google, Microsoft, IBM provides the actual AI algorithms free. The big challenge is data. Now, that's one of the competitive advantages Bangladesh has. If you have 170 million people and the most densely populated country in the world, you can tell that you have massive amounts of data in the country. So that's something we'll maybe come back to in the Q&A. So as many of you have seen, this is an expression from Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Data is the new oil, AI is the new electricity, and how do we take advantage of that? So next, how has COVID affected digital transformation? This next slide shows the speed of technology adaptation. So it's from McKinsey. It shows the average share of customer interactions that are digital. And basically, the point is that in every geography, in every market segment, COVID has accelerated digital transformation. McKinsey, senior partner McKinsey, has said that respondents are 3 times likely now than before the crisis to say that 80% of their customer interactions are digital in nature. So you're seeing it in Bangladesh, but it actually, in the rest of the world, the impact is much greater than in Bangladesh. And that's also an interesting question. Why has Bangladesh lagged in the COVID-boosted digital interaction? So this next slide, I mean, this I think is from maybe PwC, but it shows that pre and post COVID, the technology adaptation curve is accelerated. But the top chart, but the bottom chart is interesting because it also shows the degree of tension, you could say, in corporate consumption of technology. So on the one hand, COVID, I mean, all companies realize that their consumers are going more digital due to social distancing, lockdowns. But on the other hand, many companies' revenues have collapsed. Their balance sheets are under pressure. They don't have the resources to invest in technology. So there's this kind of tension that's going on. But the bottom chart shows we've got COVID crisis, economic slowdown, recession. At least in the US and UK, we're in the return to growth phase. The UK economy contracted by 10% in 9.9% in 2020, which is the worst recession since the Great Frost of 1706. So, but the UK economy is forecast to recover in 2021 by 7.5%, which is the strongest growth since World War II. So we're in the return to growth phase. But the key question is, what is the new normal or the next normal? And it's going to be a next normal dominated by technology. And I think this is from PwC. It's a lot of text. I think they'll be sharing the presentation with you. But I think we can think about some different types of digital transformation, whether it's improving digital collaboration, so digital connectivity. It's also using digital to improve operational efficiency and reduce costs. embracing digital first models in areas, whether it's in health and education. And also, I think that another important thing, you're seeing a global record in M&A volumes. There's also a much greater, let's say, corporate collaboration or mergers and acquisitions happening in digital. So it's a little bit fuzzy, but this is a chart from Microsoft, and actually it emphasizes how, I mean, Microsoft has estimated that 149 million new jobs will be created due to the Great Lockdown, accelerating digitization. And I just want to highlight, so they've got, cybersecurity, data analysis, cloud and data, software development will generate 98 million new jobs, which is good news for many of you on this call, since you're all from the technology sector. And this it's again quite a busy, complex slide, but it shows the extent of digitization by sector. It's a very detailed piece of work by McKinsey, but taking research from many different sources. Probably to analyze this slide, we would need a separate session. But I think digitization is definitely accelerated, broadly speaking. But some sectors are lagging. Some sectors are moving faster than expected. So again, this is finding different opportunities. I mean, here they've listed healthcare, biotech, AI, cybersecurity, remote collaboration, virtual education, digital transactions, payments, food delivery and grocery. So I'll be talking about, in the case study section, a little bit more about some specific ways we're approaching translating the broad opportunity into specific projects. So let me now move on to the next section, which is Pathfinder. So a group of us found Pathfinder. It's a very young organization, only 3 or 4 months old. And I mentioned before, the UK has the worst recession since 1709 in 2020. And the UK actually, so now, the UK and the US are leading the world in terms of overcoming COVID. Things are normalizing. But last year, both the UK and the US were the worst hit in terms of COVID cases and deaths. And one of the reasons we set up Pathfinder is because, at least in the UK, the BAME community, or the ethnic minority community, particularly the British Bangladeshi community, Pakistanis, were the worst hit by COVID, both economically and also in terms of the number of deaths and COVID cases. Another interesting thing that's worth bearing in mind, and why we set up Pathfinder, is that COVID has actually increased, and not just COVID, but actually technology transformation is generally a good thing, but it's massively increased income inequality. And this slide here from UNCTAD, it shows how the red line is, let's say, the rich countries, and the blue line is the rest of the world, or peripheral countries, including Bangladesh. And this shows real GDP per capita. And it's showing, as we go through different industrial revolutions, the gap between the rich and poor countries is increasing. And the right-hand side chart shows, it actually shows the Gini coefficient. So Gini coefficient is an economist measure of income inequality. A higher Gini coefficient means there's greater income inequality. And what it's showing is that it's taken 5 different pandemics. I think this may be from the IMF, I've forgotten. But and basically looked at how income inequality increases after pandemics. And there's no doubt, you all know it in Bangladesh, but even in the UK, income inequality has increased massively. So on the one hand, you have Jeff Bezos being the $200 billion man. You have Elon Musk, now worth $170 billion, Bitcoin being $60,000. And generally, those in technology and those with assets have seen a massive boost in their wealth. But the vast majority of the global population, and even in countries like the UK and the US, the majority of the population are worse off. So that massive income inequality is also it drove the rise of Trump, it drove Brexit, it drove the attack on the US Capitol, and it's not going away. So, again, maybe in the Q&A we can talk about it, but when we talk about technology, we have to understand that the society downside of this rapid technology development. And here you can see, prior to COVID, people were already pessimistic about inequality. So this is from the Pew Center research. It shows different surveys about gap between rich and poor. People are pessimistic, where the political system works. availability of well-paying jobs, and the country's education system. And this is a global survey. Now, I can be pretty confident that if you did a survey in Bangladesh, it would be very similar. So I think the vast majority of Bangladeshi people, are sitting thinking, yeah, there might be some, the rich component of society in Bangladesh has become wealthier. Maybe some of the rich people have, exposure to the NASDAQ or owns Amazon or bought Tesla, or has had assets which have gone up. For example, housing in Bangladesh. So those who've been able to own or buy housing have seen a housing boom last year in Bangladesh. But the vast majority of the population is dramatically worse off, and a lot of the Bangladeshi population are starving. So when we talk about lockdowns, and again, I don't want to digress from the main subject of technology, but we also have to, I think maybe Professor Mumin mentioned this maybe as I joined the call a bit late, but we have to think about how technology can create a more inclusive society. Just going on to Pathfinder. So in the UK, and actually in the US, you'll hear a big expression. So what kind of recovery do we want post-COVID? And there's a buzz phrase going around called build back better. But what does build back better mean? And the World Economic Forum has got another buzz phrase called the Great Reset. So again, this is a very busy chart. You can find it on World Economic Forum. This is a cover of Time. So after COVID, we have a great reset. But what does the great reset mean? Well, World Economic Forum's talked about different things, shaping the economic recovery, redesigning the social contract, skills and jobs development, restoring the health of the environment, and also revitalizing global cooperation, strengthening regional development, and harnessing the fourth industrial revolution. So these are all good things. But again, what does it mean in practice? So this is what, in Pathfinder, this is what we are trying to do. So we are trying to catalyze innovation, growth, and opportunities in the digital economy, and also empower and inspire the next generation of technology entrepreneurs. So Pathfinder is two things. We're trying to enable new digital entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs who are taking advantage of digital, particularly in marginalized, underrepresented groups in society, women entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, ethnic minorities, people with disabilities and special needs. So that's one of our goals. And secondly, we're a network of technology entrepreneurs as well. So as I said, we have a business community enablers, we have experts, private investors, and we're also engaged with different government institutions. And let me just keep going on here. So I mentioned some of the different target groups. And I hope that the core ethos of Pathfinder may resonate with some of you, and maybe some of you might want to join this network, and perhaps also promote a Pathfinder type concept in Bangladesh, because it's important that technology helps deliver, as I said, inclusive growth and greater. It helps to repair society's divisions, not increase society's divisions. So we're doing a lot of, we do webinars, we have chat rooms, we have a women's directory, and so on. Mentorship, startup. We're also planning a Tiger's Den or an apprentice type program in the British Bangladeshi community by Q4. And we have a lot of different workshops. These are some of the areas that Pathfinder is focusing on. Fintech, we already had a webinar on fintech. We had a webinar on the restaurant sector, digital health, digital education, and so on and so forth. Quite a few different areas. And if any of you from IBA or indeed on this call would like to participate, maybe afterwards we can certainly discuss how to collaborate in the Pathfinder network, and perhaps also engage in some of these webinars and workshops. So we want to generate 20 plus digital businesses in the UK. I think actually we're well on course to doing that, even being 2 or 3 months old, and we'll talk about that. So I think one of the concepts we have in Pathfinder, energize and unleash the entrepreneurial potential of women and younger generation entrepreneurs. People always ask me, Ifti, what is the benchmark for success for Pathfinder? I said, well, actually, it's quite broad. I mean, we're working on some large projects. You can say we're working on some projects that could be, $1 billion type businesses with a group of different technology entrepreneurs. But to me, equally important is that if if we have an unemployed British Bangladeshi 19-year-old sitting in his bedroom that sees no future and after COVID, and we can help him, inspire him to actually see he can become a digital marketer, or he can go into e-commerce sales, or he can do something else. Maybe he starts his own business, or maybe he gets a job. If we can achieve that, that's as important as creating these big technology businesses. So I think that's what we want to do. We want to engage in different groups. Primarily we're UK focused, but this is something that the core concept and model is not specific to the UK. It's relevant in Bangladesh or many other countries. I think somebody's raised their hand. I couldn't quite see it, but I don't know. Moderator, do you want me to go through and take questions at the end, or how would you like to? I'm happy to take questions in between as well.
Yeah, this is up to you. I can say.
No, I mean, if somebody wants to ask a question, I mean, this is an informal discussion. Please.
Yes, probably you can go ahead with Mr. Umang.
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor. Due to some technicalities, I can't open my cam. Sorry for that. I would like to talk here because apart from my regular job, I'm also working as a consultant with United Nations for establishing 7 business incubation centers in the technical and vocational institutes by the Ministry of Education. So I find here that that Pathfinder, I'm interested to connect with Mr. Ifti in this regard, because as I'm implementing it 7 business incubation centers in Bangladesh for startups. So his Pathfinder could be a good thing and a good new elements for that incubation. So that's all I would like to say. So I will connect to you in this regard.
Okay, that's great. No, and I think that I think maybe once I'm not too many slides to go, but once I get through the presentation, then I think we in the Q&A we can recover that. I think the other thing that has really struck me, I mentioned it before, is that one of the things that COVID has done is to dramatically increase. On the one hand, I think as a macroeconomist, I think that COVID has caused has reversed globalization, has caused disruptions, has caused increased political tensions. The vaccine, the COVID battle started between the US and China under Trump. There's now increased vaccine competition and vaccine frustration between the first world and the developed world. So there's a lot of, and COVID has even, I mean, the Indian COVID crisis has actually, I was talking to actually Shenzhen Stock Exchange the day before yesterday, and we were talking about, and China has kind of largely, overcome its COVID crisis. But I was saying that this Indian COVID crisis, or this COVID explosion in India, is going to affect China, because most of the ship crews around the world are from the Indian subcontinent, from India, from Sri Lanka, and indeed from Bangladesh. And they're increasingly not able to man ships because of the COVID crisis in India, not allowed to enter countries. And that is already disrupting global supply chains and global logistics. So globalization is also being affected negatively by COVID. But one of the positive aspects of globalization is we're much more integrated. It's much easier. We're all much, we're zoomed out. So we're zoomed out, too many Zoom calls. But on the other hand, it's much easier for everybody to connect. So I think that's something we need to take advantage of. So, and I mentioned here to encourage collaboration, leverage networks, and so on. So, let me go on. Actually, before I finish on Pathfinder, there is I think ICT Ministry, ICT Ministry is organizing, jointly with the Bangladesh High Commission in London, and Her Excellency Mona is organizing a ICT conference in the UK, I guess a virtual conference at the end of May the 31st. And they were asking me, I'll be one of the panelists, but they were asking me what should that conference be on? And I think originally it was going to be a basis roadshow for outsourcing. And I said to them, I said, with all respect and humility, I think if you keep doing that, you're not going to really engage with the UK. Because we've done like 5 basis outsourcing events in the UK. I took part in a very expensive one in the Shangri-La hotel that BCG organized 2 years ago in London. And I think the net effect was almost zero. I don't think there's been much more outsourcing. So I think one of the things I said to them, having, let's say more heavily in the UK, when you engage in countries, you have to see what's important for this country, not what's important for Bangladesh. If you want to engage with the government in the UK and you want to engage with mainstream UK business, you have to think about what's important for the UK and how can a UK-Bangladesh partnership be relevant for the UK. If you don't do that, then you'll always have junior officials or no officials from the UK, and you'll also have hardly any UK companies. When we did that BCG event, and no criticism of BCG specifically, but I think that the Honourable Minister Polak Pai spoke, and I think actually all the Bangladeshi companies that spoke were very good. And we had a fintech event in February of 2020 that I helped to organise. We had 150 participants, but in the previous ICT event, 90% of the participants were NRBs. Not even 10% were UK companies. Now, so I think one of the things I've suggested for the event on May the 31st, what does the UK government, what is the priority of the UK government? And that also is through the ethos of Pathfinder. The UK government wants to deliver wants to deliver a digital, green, sustainable and inclusive economic recovery. That's their core post-COVID goal. Now, how can the UK and Bangladesh collaborate to deliver a digital, green, sustainable, inclusive recovery in both countries? How can G2G collaboration help to deliver that? And how can B2B collaboration deliver that, which is what we're talking about in today's event. So hopefully I think that now the conference is going to be more along those lines with two different panel discussions. One, maybe focusing on how to collaborate to deliver green, digital, inclusive growth in the UK. And secondly, how to collaborate between the UK and Bangladesh to deliver green, digital, inclusive growth in Bangladesh. So let's move on now to collaboration or specific case studies, you could say. So I just picked 3 or 4 or 5 different sectors. Sorry, Momin Bhai, I think you had a question before we go on, or you had a comment you want to make?
I'm sorry, I was a bit early in raising my hand.
No, please go ahead.
But you finish your.
No, I mean it's up to you, Professor. If you want to make a comment.
I'll wait.
Okay. So one of the things it's interesting when coming back to when we launched Pathfinder. So I talk about some big projects. So one of the interesting things, if you look in the UK and the British Bangladesh, I mean, if you look at digital health, so Babylon is now I was involved in a health AI. I was the co-founder and CEO of a health AI startup called MIUP, M-I-U-P. It's a Japanese Bangladesh collaboration. It's still running. I left in 2017. But now, I mean, when we started and Babylon started at the same time, Babylon's now worth $2 billion. When you talk about telemedicine, Babylon is the gorilla in the room. They raised $550 million just in 2019 from the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, PIS. And so anyway, there's Babylon. Online food delivery. Deliveroo just did an IPO. And their valuation was $10 billion. It's come down 20%, but it's still $8 billion. Digital bank, Revolut, its last fundraise, they raised $1 billion at 5.5 billion valuation. It's now valued at the current estimate is that the next funding round may be at $8 to $10 billion valuation. So when we talk about banks in Bangladesh, and again, with no disrespect, but I was speaking to some chairman of a bank, and he was telling me how big his bank was. I was saying, your bank's worth $150 million. You're not that big. You might think you're very big, but you're not that big. That's a first generation, top 5 or top 10 bank. Even the biggest bank in Bangladesh is a marginal player in digital banking terms. If you talk about the NRB Bank, NRB Commercial Bank, NRB Global Bank, I mean, are these NRB banks? Not really. Anyway, we're seeing these big opportunities. So one of the things that we've been discussing in Pathfinder is if we had a webinar on fintech, we had a webinar on the restaurant sector. So we did it was about I think 4 weeks ago. We did a webinar on the restaurant sector's post-COVID recovery and technology transformation in the UK restaurant sector, particularly in the British curry industry. And what I was asking Bangladesh Caterers Association, British Bangladeshi Caterers Association, UK Bangladeshi Curry Connect, typical Bangladeshi thing, there's like 10 caterers associations in the UK. So everybody wants to have their own caterer association. It's like everybody wants to have their own bank and their own insurance company. So it's maybe it's a Bangladeshi trait. So everybody wants to have their own organization. But I was saying that, you know, why is Deliveroo and Just Eat are worth $6-7 billion? Where's the valuation coming from? I said it's coming from people like you, 11,000 British Bangladeshi curry restaurants who are paying 30 to 35% commissions to Deliveroo and Just Eat. And I said, are you benefiting from this? I said, no. Not only are you actually, it's killing your business, but also you don't have any shareholding in this. So I said, why doesn't the British Bangladeshi curry industry set up its own Deliveroo or Just Eat? Why not? And then they were like, well, yeah. I said, actually, I can tell you one thing. As a technology company, the problem is not technology. The problem is not technology. We have the technology. We can tell you that we can deliver an online food delivery platform. It's actually having the strategic focus and, most importantly, the sense of collaboration and confidence and willingness. So one of the things that we're looking at is to set up in 2021-22 a series of mini Deliveroos, so local food delivery platforms. So we had a call yesterday with some restaurant owners in Cardiff. So can we start with 50 restaurants, 100 restaurants in each region? And that's what we're planning to do. So we're starting with, yes, we can deliver technology on a restaurant basis, but we can also deliver, we're working on delivering food delivery platforms. Similarly with the digital bank. So I guess in the fintech discussion, I was again asking the question, why is there no digital diaspora bank in the UK? Forget all the NRB Global, NRB Commercial, all these things, because as I said, they're not. I'm talking about a digital bank in the UK, focused on the British Bangladeshi community, of which there's almost 1 million, or Pakistanis, or Sri Lankans, or Indians. Because the other thing that's come across from the COVID crisis is that there has been massive discrimination against ethnic minority businesses and individuals during COVID by the banking sector in the UK. I don't say it's racist, but there's definitely discrimination. And it's been the ethnic minority businesses, including Bangladeshis, have found it hard to access finance. So this is a massive opportunity. I think rather than being defensive, why don't we set up a digital bank in the UK? That's the question. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're planning to do. We're starting. So I'm already, so after each of these webinars, what tends to happen is different people come to me after the webinar and say, okay, Ifti, I have an idea. You were talking about this, like how can we actually do it? Or how do we go about it? Well, we need to apply for a payments license and then an electronic money license and then apply for a digital banking license. I mean, if, again, the constraint is not technology, the constraint is not actually funding. 500,000 British Bangladeshis can certainly fund a digital bank. And actually, a license for a digital bank in the UK is much less than a license in Bangladesh, which is kind of laughable. If you need 500 crore taka to get a banking license in Bangladesh, you need a lot less than that to set up a digital bank in the UK. And I can tell you where the bigger opportunity is. It's to set up the digital bank in the UK. So, and I was saying in terms of digital banking in the UK, we can focus on payments. So if we could even address payments opportunities amongst the restaurant sector, that's a massive opportunity. Can we actually do like TransferWise, now it's called Wise. TransferWise is going to do an IPO at $8 to $10 billion as well. Well, one of the biggest diasporas transferring money from the UK is the Bangladeshi community. Why don't we have a TransferWise created and owned by Bangladeshis, which is what we want to do. And then things like alternative credit scoring using AI. We have that technology. I mean, in my company, Affinity Technology. So can we not use that in the UK? So again, and same in digital health. So on digital health, one of the things that is already starting, a group of NHS doctors approached me and said, we're looking at Babylon. Ifti, can we not do anything in digital health? I said, yes, we can. And so we're starting with some GPs up in Liverpool, in the north of England, and some NHS consultants who are British Bangladeshis. And can we create a Babylon co-created by British Bangladeshi doctors, focusing on the UK market? And yes, we can. So I'm giving these three as examples of the kinds of things that are starting, and these are all areas where tech companies. Let's see how was it stuck? Okay, can move. We had and I'll maybe in the Q&A we can talk about this. You know, I want to, let me see what the time is. 7:38. I want to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. So we had a webinar last Sunday on cybersecurity. So it was organized by actually some Bangladeshi entrepreneur actually out of the UAE. He lives in Wales as well, Fahim Azhar, and he's also joined Pathfinder. So he's representative of Cyber Wales. So Cyber Wales is one of the national organizations for cybersecurity. And anyway, we talked about cyber. They did a webinar last Sunday on cybersecurity, and ICT Ministry from Bangladesh was participating. This new cyber agency in ICT Ministry. But my focus was, I mean, the other people were talking about the importance of cybersecurity. My focus was, what are the commercial opportunities in cybersecurity? So there is commercial vulnerability from cyber attacks after COVID. There's no doubt about it. But this chart shows that the potential global market for cybersecurity services is going up from $150 billion in 2019 to $400 billion by 2026. Probably it's going to be even faster after COVID. And so one of the things that we are, again, I've highlighted to the ICT Ministry in Bangladesh, but also to the people on the call, why can't rather than the usual Bangladeshi way is take a cybersecurity solution from a large global provider. There'll be a government tender. Some foreign company will make lots of money. There'll be a local company who will implement. There'll be almost no technology transfer. The local company will learn very little, but make good money. The local partner, the global partner will make lots of money, and Bangladesh technology sector will see zero benefit. So I said we have to change that government tendering and procurement mindset, and also we have to change that mindset in general from the government level in Bangladesh to the corporate level. So can we not think about UK Bangladeshi partnerships in cyber technology, so that when the Bangladesh government does a cyber tender, there has to be some element of technology transfer, and that these UK and Bangladeshi companies, these UK Bangladeshi partnerships can actually launch new cyber products in the UK. Why not? We have the technology capability. So anyway, I just going through. So the other element of Pathfinder is we talked about a green or sustainable or circular economy recovery. So climate change is another big opportunity. I think there's more on climate change. So I'm just flicking through in the interest of time. So these are some government policies on digital. And this is let's say the sort of 6 themes for Pathfinder. Place digital at the core of the recovery strategy. Digital recovery for all, not just the happy few. So supporting SMEs, the vulnerable and disadvantaged is essential. Put green and digital together. Double efforts to improve ICT skills and digital literacy. To ensure that workers, companies and households have built capabilities to benefit from a digital economy. And use the government as a catalyst for digital adoption. And most importantly, empower small businesses and consumers. Create confidence in the smart economy. You know, one of the things about, I wouldn't underestimate, one of the core themes of Pathfinder is to inspire, motivate, educate, and enable. So that inspire and motivate is very important. I was giving an example of somebody sitting in a bedroom in Oldham who's unemployed. You know, can you actually inspire that person and give them belief to that there is a potential, even if they don't have capital? If they're willing to learn and work hard, they can sit in their bedroom and make a living as a dropshipper or a digital marketer or something else. Another interesting project in the restaurant sector that we haven't started yet, we're considering, is to empower women, Bangladeshi housewives in the UK in the restaurant sector. You know, one of the things that's really interesting is that of the 11,000 curry restaurants in the UK, only 1% of the chefs are women. It's pretty amazing. I mean, when at least I don't know about your households, but in my household and most households, it's the women that do the cooking, and they're the expert cooks. There are some exceptions, but by and large, but actually in the restaurant sector, it's the other way around. So one of our co-founders of Pathfinder, his name is Litu Mohidin. he said, Ifti, I've got this idea. I said, what's the idea? And he said, well, he runs a restaurant in Cheltenham called Memsahib Gin and Tea Bar. And he said, I've got this idea for a cloud kitchen. And I said, that's great. And then he said, I don't know whether, a cloud kitchen is where you have a central location and facility, and you don't, rather than cooking from the restaurant itself, you cook in this warehouse, and you kind of cut out the physical restaurant itself. So for delivery, you have a delivery platform, different brands, and you have the central location. So we're working with different potential cloud kitchens. I mean, my company's working with different cloud kitchens in the UK. But anyway, coming back to this women, so he said, I've got this idea for a business called iSocial Indian. I said, that's interesting. So he said, well, what he wants to do is to create cloud kitchens for British Bangladeshi housewives to cook. So he wants to create central cooking locations, all the major cities, with satellite kitchens for distribution. And women, let's say starting off with British Bangladeshi women, will come and cook and make an income. And maybe there'll be 4 or 5 standardized menu items. They can cook their let's say their signature dish. And this kind of innovation doesn't require massive amounts of capital. And this innovation is coming from within the British Bangladeshi community or within the Bangladeshi community. So this is another project that we're working on. Litu, I'm a non-executive director of his company, so I'm trying to help him on that project. We have a call actually tomorrow that we're going to start developing the business plan and do fundraising. So you can see how that kind of project is embracing digital. It also empowers women and young people and people who are marginalized. And we're giving women who are housewives sitting at home an opportunity to make an income. And these kinds of innovations can be also implemented in Bangladesh. Another thing that Litu is doing, he's created a aquaculture. So he has an aquaculture project where they're doing fish farming in the UK. So they've got a project and they've got a pilot at the moment where farmers in the UK will be, doing aquaculture farming of prawns, fresh fish, even Bangladeshi fish. So why actually import? I mean, if you talk about impact to the environment, why import fish from Bangladesh or Vietnam or somewhere else, and it goes all the way around the world when you can actually grow it locally? So, when we did the restaurant webinar, one of the things that I was emphasizing is, look, you have to think differently post-COVID. So you have to create your own differentiated brand, and one of your brands can be a technology experience. It can also be, you can rebrand your restaurant as a green or a I don't know whether some of you are aware, but Michelin, the famous Michelin stars, they now offer green Michelin stars to restaurants. So which restaurants offer the most sustainable green food? So something like Indian cloud kitchen that sources from aquaculture being reared in the UK sustainably is a really compelling proposition, and many UK consumers will be willing to pay a premium for that. So last couple of things last thing I want to talk about, and then we can move to the Q&A and be cognizant of time, is fintech. So my company in the UK that I'm a co-founder, Infinity Tech, where we do a lot of fintech projects, but also the collaboration with Shenzhen with AT Capital in Bangladesh is a joint venture with Kingdom Technology. Somebody of you may be aware, Kingdom is a $10 billion fintech in Shenzhen, so we're working on the DSC trading platform. But this slide shows the global fintech landscape. And what is interesting, so it's a ranking of the fintech centers in the world. And what is interesting is that 1, 3, and 5 are in China in fintech. 2 is Silicon Valley, and 4 is London. So again, I think so far we haven't managed to. I don't think Bangladesh fintech has really managed to leverage the partnership with China yet effectively. But a lot of fintech innovation is happening in China, so that's something that we should think about. This is a listing of all the fintech unicorns, billion-dollar companies that have been created. this is a quick summary of what is fintech. Again, in the interest of time, maybe it would be a future session when we can talk about the fintech in detail. But fintech itself has many areas, and there are opportunities for Bangladeshi companies to work in this area. So this super app is one of the core concepts of fintech. And this slide, it's what I showed a year ago at the fintech conference in London. What is the relevance of Bangladesh for UK companies? Well, Bangladesh can be a laboratory for fintech. We can develop business models in Bangladesh that can be implemented in developing countries around the world. I mentioned before, Bangladesh can be a data laboratory. There's a lot of collaboration opportunity between China and Bangladesh. This is a bit more about the kind of things that Infinity Technology does in different areas. So I think maybe now, I mean, one project we did last year, but it's an illustration again of Infinity's loan management system. So this was implemented with Robi I think it's now launched in June of last year. So it's for handset financing, but it's to generate a credit rating using a mobile phone number. And, basically it's a credit scoring system using geolocation data. And it's actually all the mobile data is on a blockchain because BTRC didn't want, was worried about data privacy. And then it uses this kind of logic system here for using AI to come up with a credit rating and also a loan disbursement system. So this core system that Infinity developed and launched in Bangladesh, we plan to use this in the UK. So I'm actually using this as an illustration, not to promote my own company, but actually to say this is an example of a fintech innovation that was launched in Bangladesh that we're planning to use for a UK digital banking project. That innovation, I mean, last night I was talking with Saiful Islam, the chairman of SSL Wireless, and we were talking about, how do Bangladeshi companies, launch in the UK? And I said, well, we have to move away from. I don't. Outsourcing is an important industry, but we have 600,000 freelancers and we have 70,000 drop shippers, and these are all important. But if ICT companies have the ability to globalize, they need to establish operations in the UK. They need to invest in the UK. But the most important thing is to establish partnerships in the UK. So can we identify a particular skill? Can we, more importantly, identify if you go to a UK company and say, I have these skills, they'll say, okay, we'll give you some business, but it'll be outsourcing. Well, outsourcing is not leverageable. By leverageable, I mean, like you can't grow a big business just by being an outsourcer anymore. You're competing against India and Philippines. And actually, I actually don't believe Bangladesh has a competitive advantage versus India in outsourcing, whatever everybody says. So I'm talking about pure outsourcing. There may be some, but if you can take something like, say, this fintech example, but there are many other examples, like say in food delivery. I've had some discussions with one of the food delivery platforms in Bangladesh to see, can we take that food delivery platform, the underlying delivery management technology, and can we implement it in the local delivery platforms we're thinking about in the UK? And then the UK Bangladeshi tech company can be a partner with a UK company. Can we develop a particular technology which there is a demand for in the UK and work with UK companies that are selling those financial platforms and products in the UK? So this is the kind of change in mindset that's required, I think, from Bangladeshi tech companies. I think now, we've got, let me just flick through, see if there's anything else. Capital markets technology, I think that Professor Jahan wanted me to talk about that. I think all I will really say is that, China has 1.35 billion people. The number of retail investors in the Chinese stock market, 160 million. Bangladesh is a population of 170 million people. Our retail investor base, the number of BO accounts is 2 million. Actually, the number of active participants in Bangladesh stock market is 200,000. So I said that if the potential of Bangladesh, I said, is 10 times, actually 100 times. We can have 100 times the number of investors in the stock market if we use technology effectively. And that's one of the projects that we're trying to work on with the DSC and Kingdom. And can it happen? This chart shows, left-hand side chart shows the number of weekly stock market accounts opened in millions during the Chinese boom in 2015. So in 2015, 3 million new stock market accounts were being opened every week. every week. And, Bangladesh has probably a total of 200,000 active traders. And why is the reason for that? It's about, again, using technology effectively. So in, this shows, sorry, I think I've lost the scale here, but it shows the share of trading, so basically the share of trading that is online. So, I don't know where the chart's gone, but anyway, if you look at the right-hand side chart, of global online trading, China is 42% of global online trading. The US is 21%. In the US the US is 34%, and the rest of the world is 21%. So, and just on let's say VNext technology. So this is the way that Shenzhen Stock Exchange's system. The stock exchange itself is kind of the main hub for high tech and venture capital financing. So with that, let me stop sharing my screen. And I think now maybe we can open the floor for discussions. I think Mominbai, you want to make a comment or ask a question, so why don't you kick off?
Thank you, Steve. I just wanted to go back to your presentation. You were talking about this 19-year-old boy sitting in his lying down in bedroom, wondering what to do in COVID. So I was just hoping how you can connect. See, I was in the BGMA board when COVID started.
Yeah.
And we were in a total disarray. The total amount of order loss was $5.5 billion, of which around 1.5 or so billion has never recovered. We are still having to have those much in that. I'm not talking about this, and you were just saying a while back that outsourcing is not what we should be doing. It cannot make us big. So I was wondering, and we were talking about it, that how can we have local brands, meaning the local Bangladeshi government manufacturers, we have already established good reputation in the world. How can we have our own brand, and we can maybe drop ship, and we can have our own branding, and within the British Bangladeshi diaspora, how can we explore that market? We're talking about e-commerce, and food delivery, etc., in your Pathfinder network. So I think there is a huge potential there, both for the subcontinental NRBs, NRIs, NRS, and NSPs, and all of them. From Bangladesh, we can cater to the textile and clothing requirement. At the same time, there's also a huge potential for Bangladeshi brands trying to explore them, be their own brands with this digital platform. Prior to this digital, digital boom, there was no possibility for a Bangladeshi manufacturer to own a brand. Now it is more or less, I think, a lot easier to do it than it was. And there are a few brands already who are trying to explore it through Amazon, etc. So in that space, you think there is any scope, and you want to shed some light on that? Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Mumbai. I'm glad you raised that. So not only do I think, I started working on it, but the challenge for me is that I get, many people are trying to engage, and it's who engages the most with me. That's where we make traction. That's where I can only focus. So I think that one of the biggest missed opportunities so far. Well, let's take a step back, and what was the real learning by the garment sector in 2020? It is that from March to May, when all of this massive order cancellation, all the hue and cry, all the newspaper articles, everything else, but will anything really change? No. Why will nothing change? Because actually, Bangladesh's garment sector is hostage to global buyers. Why is Bangladesh's garment sector hostage to global buyers? Because there's no alternative. It's the same reason when Bangladeshi restaurants in the UK say, yeah, but we can't leave Deliveroo. Why? Because you have no alternative. It's the same with the Bangladeshi garment sector. So one of the biggest opportunities I identified last October, and I started having discussions on it. I actually had a call with Rabana Haq, and I spoke to Sharif from Ananta. I went to Beximco factory and met with the head of exports, and I said, look,
Navid.
I didn't meet with the CEO Navid. I met with the Indian guy who's the director of exports. I was meant to meet with Navid as well, Navid by the CEO. or I could have gone to Salman Bay as well, but I didn't really get. I guess I left in December, left Bangladesh in December to come to the UK, and then never made it back to Bangladesh. To the story of COVID. But coming back to the massive. So I've seen the BGMEA presentation about the Amazon for the world, but I think we have to start at a company level, not just BGMEA, because BGMEA is
that is something actually, it was my idea. I
Yeah.
wanted to have that digital marketplace for the local entrepreneurs. There is a lot of legal issues. There are, issues relating to customs.
I mean, Bangladesh Bank and other things have to do that, but sorry, Mumbai.
The thing is,
Please.
it is. You're absolutely right. It is not on an industry level. It has to happen on a company level.
Yeah.
And there are many companies, few of this. I mean, I am one of those who have got a product ready.
Yeah.
Both for the ethnic population and also for the masses over there. The white and the blacks and the Hispanics and whatever population.
Well, yes. I mean,
on a company level, there has to be a connect. Over to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, well, you obviously with Pride Group, you have a very big company. So what I felt back in October, so we have to move. So Bangladesh has to move from a pure B2B RMG sector to B2C, and it will be a gradual. This is the perfect time. Why is it the perfect time? Number one, the whole world, e-commerce and engaging through e-commerce, that makes it much easier, right? Number two, not easy, but easier. Number two, even for physical stores, most of the UK high street is empty now. If there's ever a time for Bangladeshi to also have a hybrid digital and physical presence, it's now, because the cost of, even for Bangladeshi companies to acquire UK, companies in garment sector, it's the cheapest time ever, because the whole RMG sector has collapsed. The whole clothing sector in the UK has collapsed. But how do you come up with a plan? Well, the first thing is to create. Maybe it's a consortium of a few like-minded. It can be individual companies, but more likely a consortium of Pride Group, Beximco, a few others, and not do a half-hearted effort. I mean, no criticism of Beximco specifically, but if you look at Yellow, so I met with the Yellow CEO and I met with the head of exports, the director of exports, and I was saying that if you look at Yellow is creates international quality products. The problem is not the quality of the products. And when I went to Beximco factory, I'm sure if I go to the Pride factory, if I look at these products, I'm like, these are the global best in class, right? I mean, it's about having do you have a brand that resonates with the consumer in the UK? So one is to come up with a brand.
You have to create one.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
My idea is also B2C. I'm sure there are a lot of questions, there are a lot of raised hands already. Yeah. I'm just going to add one thing to you. We can focus two ways. One is B2C for the rest of the population, and another one B2C for the ethnic population that you have, the Bangladeshi and the Indian, the minorities that you have over there. And the one way could be to have a digital portal in the physical restaurants that can also start as a marketplace. I don't know. We can talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about it afterwards. But I share. I think not only do I think it's a big opportunity. I mean, Bashir Bhai, the chairman of British Bangladesh Chamber and Pathfinder, he wants to do it. Actually, quite a lot of. So whenever I tell people in the UK this is a big opportunity, nobody says it's not a big opportunity. But what's missing? Then generally what they say is, okay, can you come up with a plan?
Many of these audience here can be a part of it, can be facilitated in the process. Yeah. And who are in the audience today to do this thing, and many of them in the Pathfinder network can also collaborate. I'll take your contacts and
we'll do that. So I think what we need to do is if we break it down into it, the digital is important. So when we talked about creating, like Pathfinder is applying for a community renewal fund, so in Oldham, so like a £500,000 grant. But what we want to do is create, let's say 1,000 digital marketers in the British Bangladeshi community. That's not difficult. Now, those digital marketers can be our sales force for the B2C for Bangladeshi garments. First thing is to, like one of the things about, I kind of broke it down, and again, I'm not trying to sell sand to the Arabs. I'm not an expert in the RMG sector, moment by like you are, but let's say I'm a strategic guy that's also quite heavily involved in technology. But you're absolutely right that technology is the key. Why is technology the key? Because what are the technology components? What are the components to make the success? Number one, we have the product already. There's no doubt about that. We have the product, and we have the high quality products, globally competitive products. That's not a problem. Number one is to create the Boohoo or other type brand in the UK. What brand will resonate with the UK consumer? And number two, create the digital content and the digital marketing strategy that creates that brand. What does a brand come from? So when I looked at, say, Yellow, I said, well, actually, when I looked at Yellow in Canada, you don't really have a digital marketing strategy that's connecting with Canadians. I mean,
we can add some, the sustainability aspect, the woman aspect,
yeah,
the giving back the society things. We can build it in the brand,
yeah,
and we can sell those things to a informed audience that you have.
And I think what you can probably do is getting funding. So again, the reason there's a technology component, and maybe we have to have a separate session just on this, but I think that one is creating the brand. So there's opportunities both between UK and Bangladesh to create brands, right? And you have to create brands that make sense in the UK, not brands that make sense in Bangladesh. So that's like taking a Yellow and like launching in the UK. I agree with you that let's say there should be a market segmentation. So some of Yellow's, I take Yellow just because I know their products better because I've been to their stores, but I'm sure Pride's the same. When I look at some of their, let's say during the face mask or the other, let's say products, and then all of the Punjabis, the kamises, the saris and stuff, this market. But I think that we can create that. Number two, you have a massive pool of unemployed British Bangladeshis, or British Bangladeshi, not just unemployed, but British Bangladeshis who want to be in digital marketing. Why not start with Bangladeshi products? They will be passionate about that. Or Bangladesh, it doesn't have to be a Bangladeshi products and also Bangladeshi products. Yeah, like that's an example. And then also there will be technology opportunities for everybody in this room because these e-commerce platforms that are going to be created, again, can be in collaboration between UK tech companies or British Bangladeshi tech companies and those there as well. So I think B2C is, you need to create warehousing. We have to overcome Bangladesh Bank's regulation. But I think that I always feel that rather that the way to overcome Bangladesh Bank's regulation is to start doing something small and then show it can be done rather than spend, another year discussing the regulatory limits. But I think that there is the other thing that I want to, again, so we're also, I'm working with I'm working, again, jack of all trades, master of none. So I'm working on lots of different projects because generally people come to me and say, okay, can we do this? And I say, yes, you can. And they say, okay, how can we do it? One of the reasons that B2C hasn't moved is because I haven't really created a business plan yet. So maybe more by you and I can create a business plan because NRBs are willing to invest in it. So Bashir Bhai said, look, if you come up with a plan, we can raise £500,000.
We have
a bit shortage of time.
We have Sakib and...
oh, yeah, sorry, excuse me. You got me excited on B2C and garments. So please, let's go through the questions. So Sakib...
I can understand that.
Yeah, so Sakib Bhai, please, what's your question?
Thank you very much. And I'm thinking how to phrase this properly because I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But there are some things that I think about that you might be putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
And when you talk about what Bangladeshi companies are strong at, I feel that we may have forgotten something that Bangladesh has been doing for the last 10 years,
right,
which is getting people on board using technology.
Right.
And when you talk about relevant to the UK, you talk about inclusive. And that is literally what the Bangladesh government and many others have been doing. We may lack innovation in other areas, which is we might be missing bells and whistles, but Bangladeshi companies for many years have been working to get people to use their products at all, to become comfortable with digital technologies. So this is something that I think that since you have a platform, Professor Farhat and Professor Momin, all of you have this platform, that if you can also say, to remind people that this is one of our strengths to getting first generation technology users. You talk about youth and women. Youths find their way to technology automatically. We work with the elderly, for example, which in Bangladesh is anybody over 40 years of age. And these are people that are completely ignored. But maybe this can be a sector that we can help others. My company has had success in Canada, working with social enterprise for the disadvantaged. And I think that if more companies do it here, we would need to improve the quality of our user interface and user experience, how we develop those, but we have almost an innate understanding from 10 years of just trying to get people using digital services, and whether it's buying rail tickets. I hear that there are problems in the Western world where elderly people were not able to register for appointments for vaccines because they didn't know how to do that. And this is something I feel that we can come up with solutions. So this would cover everything, whether it's fintech or agriculture or many other things, but maybe at a more basic level, and maybe something that we might have already developed experience.
Okay, well, thanks, thanks, Saki. But I think that it's sorry. And what's your organization? Maybe you can, if people tell me what company they're from as well, that would help.
My company is called Rational Technologies Limited, and many people have already gotten tired of me saying this, but we moved to a village in Sylhet just to, our project there is to get people to be completely comfortable with technology, because we can build smart cities and smart communities, but unless people use the services that are available, then what's the point?
Yeah, no, in fact, Sakib, I'm really, really grateful actually that for your intervention, your comment, because as I said at the beginning, so we can get excited. So RMG is $1 billion opportunity in the UK, the RMG, B2C RMG, but actually as important, as I said at the beginning, is for Pathfinder, and I think in general, not just for Pathfinder, is in delivering this inclusive digital recovery is something like basic financial literacy skills. And what I'm really glad, Sakib, you very effectively and succinctly highlighted is that this is an area that Bangladesh has been successful in. And so what I can do is connect you, maybe after this call, with, say, the vice chairman of Pathfinder is Anwar Ali OBE. He got his OBE, which is quite a big deal in the UK, this January for social business. And he has raised £8 million to invest in social businesses in Oldham. So the project we're applying for, or he's taking the lead on, is to provide digital skills in the Oldham and Manchester area. Basic digital skills. So forget coding or games developer or some of these big, taking businesses digital, but at a very basic level, how do we help particularly people from ethnic minority communities in the UK to open a bank account or to do basic digital skills, digital bank account. So I think, Sakib, that's an example where we could connect your company with Anwar, and potentially you could be part of this project if we win the project in terms of delivery, because you can demonstrate that you have successfully given digital skills to those, marginalized and disadvantaged communities in Bangladesh, and that can be implemented in the UK. So we'll maybe after this call we can certainly connect, and we can connect you with some of the other people in Pathfinder are focused on that social side. Next question is from Azad, and then we can go to Farhat Bhai.
Okay, I'm from the Stock Bangladesh Limited.
Yeah.
And I'm from the same ground that you have stated your speech. And actually, we are facing the problem. We are working at this industry in research and in the financial research technology. And
so sorry, you can also make sorry, I was going to say you can also make your comment in Bangla as well as English, so I can understand Bangla fine.
Okay, আমরা তো দীর্ঘ 15 বছর ধরে কাজ করছি, কিন্তু আমাদের সবচেয়ে বড় সমস্যা যেটা মনে করতেছি যে আমাদের রিসার্চ আমরা নিজস্ব করতেছি, কিন্তু আমাদের এখানে কোনো অভিভাবক নাই, কোনো একাডেমিক নাই, যেটা আমরা ফিল করতেছি যে আমাদের অবশ্যই কিছু ল্যাক্স আছে, যে ল্যাক্স আমরা নেক্সট এক্সপানশন কিভাবে করব, আমাদের বিভিন্ন সাইড লাগছে, ফান্ডিং টেকনোলজিক্যাল ইয়েতে। এই একটা আমাদের একটা ইনস্টিটিউশন দরকার, একটা অভিভাবক দরকার যেখান থেকে আমরা গাইডেন্স পাইতে পারি। কিন্তু বাংলাদেশে আমরা এটা খুব ফিল করতেছি এই সেক্টরে, ফিনটেক ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে, স্পেশালি ইন দ্য শেয়ার মার্কেটের, ক্যাপিটাল মার্কেটে, এটা আমরা খুব ফিল করতেছি। এটা আমি পার্সোনালি এটা ফিল করতেছি। এই ব্যাপারে আপনারা কিভাবে ইয়ে করতে পারেন, আমাদেরকে হেল্প করতে পারেন?
আদেব একটু বলেন আপনি কি কাজ করছেন, ওটা একটু বলেন।
ওয়েল, আমি স্টক বাংলাদেশ লিমিটেড ডিরেক্টর বলছি। আমরা
Oh, maybe we just lost you there.
অ্যানালাইসিস করি আমরা যেটা করছি যে হ্যাঁ লাস্ট নেক্সটে আমাদের এই ধরনের একটা কোম্পানি যারা রিসার্চ করে যারা ফাইন্যান্স মার্কেট নিয়ে কাজ করতেছে যারা শেয়ার মার্কেটের বিভিন্ন টুলস নিয়ে কাজ করতেছে ডিএসসি নতুন যে এপিএস সিস্টেম আছে আমরা এটাও কাজ করতেছি তো আমাদের নেক্সট মুভের জন্য নেক্সট আমরা ইয়ার জন্য এটা একটা হেল্প দরকার আমাদের মানে এই ধরনের ছোট কোম্পানি আমরা যারা স্টার্টআপ করি আমাদের জন্য কি রকম একটা support করবে either government or from the institute.
Yeah, no, I know Stop Bangladesh quite well. I think you're actually doing a very good job. I mean, I'm from the capital markets background. That's before I got into technology. I think that the ICT ministry does have mentoring programs. You need when I say mentoring, you need somebody to give you advice and maybe also to help you raise funding and also help you develop your strategy and your growth strategy as well. So I think that the government, I mean, ICT ministry does do that, but it does sound like you're not benefiting from that. So even if the ICT ministry has such programs, clearly you're not benefiting from it. And maybe it could be BSEC, it can be maybe ICT ministry and BSEC should set up a separate fintech program to help companies like yourselves to grow, to learn about what is the what is the right commercial strategy and how do you develop your business. So afterwards we can have that discussion. But I think that Stop Bangladesh, at least as I've observed, you produce a very high quality product, but probably you're not making enough money from that product. So, but I think that maybe as if the Dhaka Stock Exchange does genuinely go online, and that's the project I'm working on with Kingdom, then there should be opportunities for a company like Stock Bangladesh to make more money because as I said before, we have 200,000 investors, hardly any are online. I don't even think 30,000 stock market investors are online in Bangladesh, are trading online, I mean. And in in China, it's 160 million. So as we see this transition, technology transformation, capital markets, Stock Bangladesh should be well positioned. But I think I understand and recognize that you need more help. And maybe we should...
I will definitely contact with you.
Yeah, afterwards. Okay, Farhad Bhai, next question.
Yeah, well, I was basically trying to come up and ask you, if you can come up with, say, for example, maximum three bottlenecks in terms of mindset. With them, you work with them fairly closely, because this is one particular thing that has to be told, I mean, absolutely open, that these are the three bottlenecks that we have in terms of mindset. That is one. The other thing that I would just like to highlight is that we have a huge set of, and if you remember that we discussed this earlier as well, using our, well, should I call them homemakers or educated homemakers who can be actually tapped. They are doing a lot of businesses online again, but they're not again under one single platform. Is it really possible to pull them up and place them in one particular platform and take them from there onwards? These are the two things I would like you to answer, please.
Okay, first one is a good question. What you were saying, what are the three things that Bangladesh ICT sector mindset changes that are required? I think that first mindset change is, let's say, self-confidence and belief, you might say, that actually, and so I think when Saqib made his intervention, I actually, maybe sometimes it sounds like I'm being very critical of Bangladesh. I'm let's say maybe I'm really saying that Bangladesh is, maybe it's a frustration in my voice, that Bangladesh ICT sector can achieve so much more than it has. That doesn't mean it hasn't achieved a lot of good things. It's not a negative observation. It's actually more of a positive one to say there's a lot more. So one is mindset, that actually Bangladeshis are extremely innovative as a people and probably the most entrepreneurial people in the world, probably. And so firstly, a lot of things are possible. You have to have that self-belief. Number two is to have a partnership mindset. So understand that actually, unless you find the right partnerships, that's what I was saying to Saiful Bhai yesterday, the SSL chairman. that, and he has that mindset. I said, look, if you want to sell your products, you have to find the right strategic partners in the UK. And I think so that finding the right partnership is very difficult, is very important, and I think that the government, hopefully, the ICT ministry and others can help, but even at a B2B level. So I think those are the two things. And the third thing is, let's find the way to leverage the diaspora and the British Bangladeshi community in a win-win way. So the last thing I would say is, don't keep thinking that people should do things just because out of goodwill. Hey, there's somebody, you're a British Bangladeshi, help Bangladesh because it's your home country. If you keep having that mindset, it doesn't work, right? It's a bit like, so I think the third thing to say is that let's find a win-win so that the pie is not fixed. So I think often British Bangladeshis or Bangladeshis in general have a zero-sum mindset. So we have to think it's not a zero-sum game, that we can create whole new businesses. So that's very important. Let me give you another example. You were asking about, I think your second question is about how to create a platform. So let's say a live example. So like last week, 2 weeks ago, in fact, the last week. So there's a NRB up in British Bangladesh up in Newcastle called Sunny Mir. And Sunny has a payments company, a fintech. So he's a young guy, early 40s, and he has a fintech payments company up in Newcastle. So he and I are working on, we're working on a sort of digital banking type project on payments, remittances. But he has 2,500 customers in the UK, restaurants, grocery stores, nightclubs, charities, and most of his customers needs digital marketing services. It can be digital content creation, search engine optimization, brand creation, social media strategy, whatever it is. So what we've decided to do is to set up a new company in the UK, Sunny and I, and Erfan, my business partner, and we will offer digital marketing services to UK companies. But our partners will be from Bangladesh. So maybe initially it'll be an outsourcing model, but it can actually be if any Bangladeshi company that's has a strong and differentiated digital marketing service to offer, then they can do that. And those companies from Bangladesh can train some of these thousands of British Bangladeshis who are unemployed in digital marketing skills. So I'm just giving you an example where it doesn't have to be a traditional outsourcing model, and we can start doing it. And that digital marketing workforce can link back into Professor Momen's project, a B2C in garments. And you say, well, this is all abstract thing. It's not. We're doing it. We may not succeed, but we're going to try. So we're setting up the digital marketing company in the UK. We decided last week we're going to do that. And we may start small. And we have to make sure we have good quality. So I think that coming back to what Saqib was saying, if somebody says to me, is Bangladeshis, are they good at digital marketing? I said, yes, they are. I said, well, if somebody asked me in the UK, how can you show that? I said, well, we have 70,000 drop shippers in Bangladesh. So selling offshore, buying and selling goods offshore. The best example I heard, so one of the companies digital marketing companies I'm working with, it's owned by a drop shipper with 500 who runs 500 drop shippers. And he gave me the example of, and I always think, if you want to brand Bangladesh, or if you want to show how entrepreneur people are in Bangladesh. So it's he was telling me about, there's a guy, there's one of his team is in a village near Bogra, and he was buying TP-Link routers from AliExpress in China and selling to Chinese on Taobao. You can't make it up. You got a Bangladeshi sitting in the village who's buying Chinese Wi-Fi routers in China and selling to Chinese. I asked him, he can barely speak, he can't speak English. I kind of looked to me, he can barely speak Bangla, at least from what I could tell. But I said, in my broken Bangla, I said, how'd you do that? I said, you can't speak Chinese. He said, I use Google Translate. And another example is somebody who's sitting in a village near Borishal who's selling dogs in California. And they can find the digital content writers and how to do it. And how can you bottle that secret sauce? of digital marketing talent in Bangladesh and deliver it in the UK marketplace. So I'm just giving an example. So I think that's some of these small projects can end up being bigger projects, and we can do that. Mominbhai, you wanted to add something else, or?
Yeah, I just want to add to whatever you just said. I sit in the selection committee of the ICT Ministry with
Yeah.
the IDEA project.
Yeah.
Last week we were, getting the pitch of very many, individuals. There's this one 18-year-old boy. He is training people to be a marketer on Amazon.
Yeah.
So how you can do Amazon marketing? That is what he trains. So he's asking for funds. This is an 18-year-old boy, an intermediate and HSC level student. This is what he's doing. Just to add on to your, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, no, and I think that the opportunity, and I'm not saying it's not easy, but it's possible. How do we connect that 18-year-old boy to a potential marketplace in the UK? And obviously, if they can do it in the UK, they can do it in any country, in the US or anywhere else. And so this Pathfinder grant application, where there'll be multiple grant applications. When we train digital marketers in the UK, and we don't want to just have a course. There's no point in just, there are thousands of courses, free online on YouTube. Can we actually have a training which leads to create an income or job creation opportunity? And what we want to do is to connect resources in Bangladesh with the opportunity in the UK. And that may, again, initially be an outsourcing model, but any of you in this room can find potential partners in the UK and set up a joint venture. Why not? If you bring innovation and ideas and technology resources to a company in the UK, everybody's here to make money. So why not? So that would be my mindset. Anybody else have some questions or observations? I know we're down to the last 5 minutes. So
I think it's very important. If we have to listen to that very, very closely. Report is problem of not partnering with each other. Whether this is locally or internationally doesn't really matter. This is one area which, I know FT has been talking about, and many of us have been talking about it. We must get out of this mindset. We are not alone, and alone we cannot do much. One. Number two, which was very important for me, a takeaway, that don't come up and, which again, I'm sure some of our friends were also suggesting, Saqib was very clearly suggesting, that we have been doing quite a few things. But are we actually trying to take that particular thing and make it global? And if we want to make it global, we just cannot look at our target market. A typical marketing sort of dilemma that people face. They produce a good and they think that the good is going to market themselves. No, that's not going to happen. Demand is created in that particular market and you go to tailor-made for that particular market. Otherwise, the win-win cannot come up. That is exactly what the other thing that IFTI has been trying to hit at. So one is partnership needs to be done with the right party. The intention is primarily to add value. Add value for both the parties, of course, and address that particular market. You can rest assured that working only in Bangladesh market, indirectly what IFTI was suggesting, that even in the stock market, people are not digitally literate enough, and we are doing it only domestically, that's not good enough. The market is not that big enough. To really want to grow, we need to look outside of Bangladesh market as well.
Yeah.
Both ways, and we can bring in people from outside as well. There are people who are sitting in UK, who are unemployed, whom you can use through, of course, the present state that you have, the cyber world or the digital world, whichever you call it, and take it forward. That way, probably it will be more productive. You're creating partnership from a different perspective altogether.
Yeah,
so I think that is the important takeaway.
Yeah, one last takeaway again is, yeah, I think we are primarily talking about Bangladeshi companies globalizing, so that's the theme. So obviously we're talking about from the UK, from Bangladesh to the UK or to other countries. But I would also end by saying there is massive innovation in Bangladesh and massive future innovation opportunity in Bangladesh, and international companies will be interested in that, but you have to find the right engagement and partnership model. So say a UK company that can work on a fintech, let's say alternative credit scoring. Can a Bangladeshi company develop an alternative credit scoring platform to provide alternative credit scoring and loan provision in the villages in Bangladesh that can then be scaled across Africa or the rest of India. So that's the kind of using Bangladesh as a, not say laboratory is maybe not the right word, but basically somewhere where you can refine a developing country business model that can be scaled globally. That's something that maybe technology companies in Bangladesh have not yet pitched to the rest of the world. And that's also something that's worth considering. I think maybe we have 2 minutes left. So, because I know I'm fine to talk, but I think you also have a busy schedule today. Does anybody else have any comments or questions or?
আমি একটা কমেন্ট করে রাখি
Please.
এটা লাস্ট উইক একটা খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং ঘটনা ঘটেছে সাকিব এটা আপনাকেও টার্গেট করছে এবং আমাদের প্রত্যেককে দিস ওয়াজ যখন আমরা দেখলাম আপনার মনে আছে প্রত্যেকবার আমরা যখন এই কোভিড সিচুয়েশনে বাজার একটু খুলি ট্রান্সপোর্ট খুলি লোকজন পাগল হয়ে যায় মাস্ক পরছে না মিডিয়াতে এই ধরনের কথা রেগুলারলি চলছে একটু আগে একটু একটা এক্সাম্পল দিচ্ছিল ইন্ডিয়া বলেন যে কোনো জায়গা বলেন এই পার্টিকুলার জিনিসটা ইজ ভেরি কমন সো প্রাইম মিনিস্টার অফিস থেকে একটা প্রশ্ন আসছিল যে হাউ ক্যান দুটো জায়গায় প্রশ্ন আসছিল একটা হচ্ছে যে হাউ ক্যান উই ইউজ দিস ডিজিটাল মিডিয়াম একটা মার্কেটিং অর্গানাইজেশন তৈরি করা পিওরলি মার্কেটিং অর্গানাইজেশন তৈরি করা with a business model which can actually build awareness to all of these build awareness with regard to COVID restrictions and all that stuff. And this is not just local organization that we're talking about. This is a global sort of a phenomenon. Imagine Prime Minister's office থেকে এটা আসতেছে যে এই ধরনের আমরা অর্গানাইজেশন দাঁড়া করাতে পারি নাকি সোশ্যাল কস্ট কিন্তু বিজনেস মডেল হতে হবে বিজনেস মডেল না হলে কিন্তু at the end of the day sustainability আসবে না আমরা যদি কন্টিনিউয়াসলি মনে করি someone is going to subsidize that is not going to work. So এটা একটা পিওর একটা পার্টিকুলার পার আর একটু আগে একটা বলছিলাম যে ইভেন এই ড্রাগের ব্যাপারে যখন আমরা পারছিলাম না so I was giving you an example that we are discussing now issues where we're saying digital diplomacy and digital diplomacy is at that particular level top level. These are certain things that we need to look at and of course back end কিন্তু again technology লাগবে. You need to have the right information, you need to have the right data, all those things will be required. ওইটা ছাড়া we cannot proceed with these services at all. So automatically all these digital services will be required at the back end. সেইখানেই partnership with organizations such as IFTI and IFTI's অন্যান্য partners would be required. So that is the reason why I thought that IFTI should come in. He will be able to link you guys together. Linking IFTI is an expert. So I hope that all of you will look into that. কিভাবে আমরা প্ল্যাটফর্মস ক্রিয়েট করতে these are partnerships basically partnerships
RFIDs enable mask বানাইতে হবে তারপরে nose attached সেন্সর লাগাইতে হবে মাস্ক পরা থাকলে পরে সোশ্যাল স্কোরিং বাড়বে সোশ্যাল স্কোরিং বাড়লে পরে পুরো একটা অ্যাডভান্টেজ গভর্নমেন্টের কাছ থেকে পাবে এরকম একটা বিজনেস
মানে RFID লাগানো
আপনি আপনার প্রাইস কি সেটা সাপ্লাই দিতে পারবে
আমি বানাই দিতে পারবো ওরা টেকনোলজি প্রোভাইড করুক আমি মাস্ক বানাই দিব যেটা কিনা হেলথ ওয়াইজ ঠিক থাকবে ওরা টেকনোলজি বানাক ওরা সফটওয়্যার বানাক ওরা সোশ্যাল নেট বানাক যেটা দিয়ে সোশ্যাল স্কোরিং হবে ওই সোশ্যাল স্কোরিং দিয়ে কি কি বেনিফিট গভর্নমেন্ট দিবে ওইটা বলুক আমি বানাই দিব টেকনোলজি কাপল করুক
আমি ওইটা আই উইল লিঙ্ক ইট উইথ আমাদের কি নাম SDG so SDG এর সাথে লিংক করে অটোমেটিক্যালি স্কোরিং গ্লোবাল স্কোরিং বেড়ে যাবে so don't worry we do that if they you better be ready for that
কিন্তু খারাপ কথা বলি নাই
No, I agree. আমি
এনগেজ করছি সো এরকম করে গভর্নমেন্টের যে ট্র্যাকিং করতে চাইলে ট্র্যাকিংও করতে পারে
So
if the closing remarks from you
okay, well, again, I wanted to thank everybody for very patiently listening. I know we covered a lot of different topics. As Professor Farhat has emphasized, this is maybe the beginning of a discussion and hopefully collaboration, and not just with me, but I can connect you with other companies and technology companies and entrepreneurs in the UK. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. The last closing comment I would say, I would again re-emphasize, be self-confident as Bangladeshis, as Bangladesh, and as companies. Recognize that actually the rest of the world, I know obviously know quite a lot about the UK, the rest of the world is facing a crisis, faces many problems. So don't think Bangladesh is the, is the kind of beggar country and the UK and rich countries don't have any problems. The rich countries like the UK, as I mentioned before in my presentation, have massive social inequality, have major challenges after Brexit, have major challenges in a COVID recovery. And how can Bangladesh as a country and you as Bangladeshi technology entrepreneurs partner with the UK to help solve UK problems and create new commercial opportunities for yourselves? And I'm quite optimistic. So it's a partnership. It's not the old outsourcing model and so on. So I think there are a lot of, we're going through a terrible Indian pandemic wave, which hopefully doesn't hit Bangladesh, but we need to all of you get ready for all of these new opportunities, and hopefully today's discussion is the start of that partnership process. So thank you very much, everybody, and I know you have a busy day. So thanks to Professor Farhat and also Professor Momen and Professor Jahan and all of you participating, and hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Murshid, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ekte, for this wonderful session. I also think this is just the beginning, and people will definitely be interested to be in touch, to collaborate. And if they have any questions, they can write it directly. They can use this platform as well. We can facilitate as well. So let's remain engaged.
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I was just going to say as well, actually, I forgot, pathfinderhub.org.
I'll be sharing your presentation.
Yeah, you can say the presentation. I've also just shared on the group chat Pathfinder website. So if you would like to join Pathfinder, there's a membership form at the bottom of this, I think, of that, and you can find out more about Pathfinder as an organization, and that would enable you to take part in future webinars and be informed of all the different events that we're doing, and I guess, as I said, is a global and particularly UK focused technology network that may be something that some of you are interested in. So again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye bye.